All right, I just finished adding the auxiliary fuel tanks to the back of my 522XI. I have another video which I showed the front bumper, this rear hitch that I built in 2018, and then this all kind of luggage rack thing I added earlier in the summer. It's a black piece. I bought this on eBay fall of 2018. It was, well, the sale said it was actually a Toro part. It was on a Toro 266H. There's a bracket here. There's a metal bracket. This thing. This metal bracket here comes down in a hoop up to the frame. And I guess that metal bracket attached to the rear fender of the tractor, the 266H. Well, this is the bigger 522XI full-size garden tractor. Well, what I did tonight is these are two Murray garden tractor fuel tanks from two different tractors I parted out. One was, I think, an early 90s with a kind of a square hood, and the other one was a middle or late 90s rounded hood tractor. But they both had the same gas tank, and from what I've measured, I think each tank is about 3 gallons. Well, the main tank on the 522XI, I believe, is 4 gallons. And you need to be cautious if you're going to do any modifications on the rear fender of a 5XI tractor. The fuel tank, I haven't had this apart, but I've seen pictures of the fuel tank on eBay. The fuel tank is underneath the fender on that side, goes under here, and goes under there. It's underneath most of the rear fender pan. It doesn't go directly under the seat, but it goes under the rear part here. So, you know, if you're ever going to drill through the fender, you want to be you probably just want to take the fender off, so you don't drill into the gas tank itself. Excuse me. I bought some T-fittings at, I think it was, no, it wasn't O'Reilly's. It was another auto parts chain. I had fuel lines sitting on my shelf, 5/16. I used new clamps. The fuel line isn't really old. The T-fitting was from, I can't remember the name of the auto parts place. Not O'Reilly's, but anyway. I had these are Briggs & Stratton inline fuel shutoff valves. I bought like 10 of them a good 3, 4, 5 years ago on eBay. Had them on hand, so I got a hose coming down from the right tank to a fuel shutoff valve, you know, clamps on both sides, clamps on all 3 sides of the T-fitting, clamps on both sides of the other valve. It's the other hose coming down, new clamps on there, and then went down to another T-fitting. I used one that was for a 5/16 hose. So there's the original fuel line that goes up to the engine. I unhooked it from the, I'm holding a trouble light with my left hand. This is the tractor fuel tank, original fuel tank. There's a fuel shutoff valve on the back. I twisted it around. This originally went into this line over here, so I unhooked the line here going up to the fuel filter, and there is a fuel pump on the engine. Hooked up the T-fitting. T-fitting goes up to the hose. It goes up to the other T-fitting that splits off to the other two tanks. It's funny, I turned this valve shut and it was still leaking fuel out, so I had floor dry on the floor already, ready to catch stuff, and I had my trouble light back to the left. You don't want fuel, accidentally shooting out and bouncing up and landing on a light bulb, because there goes poof, we get a fire. But I'm gonna have to get a shovel, pick this up. Hopefully the smell will go away within a day or two. But let me further explain. I did this on a Toro 266H tractor years ago. Except that tractor, actually that's the tank that I did it with. Let me move the light. I had a T-fitting on there coming from the main shutoff valve. Found it. So that's the tank from the 266 hydro tractor, and I don't know how many gallons that is. A gallon of fluid is very close to 6.6 inches cubed. So 6.6 inches tall, 6.6 inches wide, 6.6 inches long. So 6.6 inches cubed. That's how I did my rough measurements of these tanks, and guessing they're 3 gallons. So, but the problem I did on that 266H is I had 2 fuel tanks from Toro commercial walk-behind mowers that were, I think each tank was either 5 or 6 gallons. Well, that 266H tank right there is probably 3. I'm guessing it's 3, maybe 4 gallons max. And I did find out one thing. These fuel caps are the same fuel cap used in the 5XI series tractor, because I had one of those caps crack in one of my other tractors over here. Anyway, long story short, I'd be out mowing grass, and until the tractor died, ran out of gas, and then I'd open up one of the valves from the 5 or 6 gallon tanks and start the tractor would crank and crank and crank and crank and start up, and then she'd run, and I'd leave the valve open, and the bigger 6 gallon tank would backfill into the 266H's tank right there, which is say it's 4 gallons, until the fuel would be spilling out the cap. I'd smell it while I'm mowing grass. That's not the greatest way to do it. So with this tractor, I purposely used auxiliary fuel tanks that were smaller than the original tank, because say I'm out mowing grass for 3 hours, and the original tank that I filled up runs out, she dies. I open up one of the valves back here. I actually sat on the seat, and it's pretty easy to reach back and flip one of those valves. So I open up the valve on one, and fuel goes from that tank up into the hose going up to the engine. And at the same time, it will probably, since it is sitting higher, it will backfill into the factory tank. Well, a 3 gallon tank here is not going to overfill the 4 gallon tank right there. And then so if I have a lot of grass to mow, I'll just keep mowing, leave the one valve open. If I run out of gas, I'll shut off the valve from the auxiliary tank and open up the valve for the other auxiliary tank. But one thing, years ago I had a Toro 117 Groundsmaster mower, and it had a KT 17 Series 2, I think it was spec 24, 324. There was several variations on the KT 17 series engines, all the way from a splash to I believe a full pressure lube engine, but that's a side note. But I mowed up the side of a steep hill and ruined that engine, and then I installed a Briggs Vanguard engine in that mower, and then I added a fuel tank that was sitting a good 1.5 or 2 feet above the carburetor on that. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and what happened is the pressure from the fuel actually pushed the fuel through the carburetor, and as the mower would be sitting, it was pushing fuel into the crankcase. The crankcase was filling up with extra fluid. Well, it was oil mixed with gasoline, so I had to lower the fuel tank on that one. But got to be careful when you're making modifications to a tractor. If you're going to make modifications to your tractor, get the advice of someone that knows what they're doing. Be careful. Do some research. Talk to a small engine mechanic, a knowledgeable one. But anyway, well, I posted some other videos on this tractor earlier. Yeah, the rear rack, the rear hitch, the front bumper. I got a lot of videos. I have over 300 videos on YouTube now. So anyway, well, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Maybe I got some other videos you're interested in. See you later. Bye.